That's right here, I believe. I'm good.
Phil's going to bring us back out of this break, just to let you know.
Round two of Sports Talk up next.
Okay, we're back. Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network, 800-956-7266 is our phone number. Email talkback at sportstalksc.com, on Twitter at SportsTalkSC. That's how you can communicate with us, both through the airwaves and through social media. Love to hear from you if you want to join in on the program with a comment or a question or an observation. Oh, my goodness, look at that. You know, it always does my heart well. Look, I think just hit a 3-run homer, his second homer, and he shuts out Detroit in Detroit 1-0. It was cold and wet in Detroit. Braves and Nationals tonight. Nationals won last night. They're undefeated. They're off to a 4-0 start. Julio Teheran on the mound tonight for the Braves. No record, 6.35 ERA. A.J. Cole making his first start of the year as the team's 5th starter for the Nationals. The Braves, they're 2-2. And Freddie Freeman's off to a decent start. Got a homer, 5 RBIs. He's batting .333. Markakis has a homer for 5 RBIs. Got some names in here that you might not recognize, like Preston Tucker in left field, batting .400. Chris Stewart, he's a veteran. He's been around. He's catching. Ozzie Albies, batting second base. Got a homer and 2 RBIs. Ender Inciarte, so it's a lineup pro that's a long way from those division championship teams and National League championship teams of not too long ago.
That's a long way from Ted Turner's checkbook too. Is the thing. Inciarte is a tremendous player though in center field. In fact, he had a Gold Glove last year. And Teheran is right where he needs to be. This is one of those rare pitchers who pitches better on the road than in his home ballpark. That is strange, but the new ballpark was not kind to him last year. He had somewhat of, I think, a below 500 record at home, but above 500 on the road.
Clemson and Coastal Carolina playing up at Doug Kingsmore. Let's update that. It's 1-0 Clemson over Coastal. 1 hit. That home run by Chris Williams, the lone hit of the day so far for either team. So it's 1-0 for Clemson and 0s across the board for Coastal as they play in the bottom of the 3rd, 1 out and nobody on. South Carolina, North Carolina just getting underway, top of the 1st. USC is the home team tonight, so they are in the field with Logan Chapman on the mound for the Gamecocks. He's got 1 out and a runner on second base at this point. Will be updating us as we move on through the rest of the program. Some other notes for you from today. We talked about the Masters tee times. By the way, the Heritage coming up next week, the RBC Heritage down at Harbortown, and we'll be down there. We'll be covering that for us. down in Harbor Town. And Scott Brown, Lucas Glover, Bill Haas, Kevin Kisner, Ben Martin, William McGirt, South Carolina natives who join the defending champion Wesley Bryan in the 50th annual RBC Heritage. They have thrown their proverbial hats into the ring there to be in the field. And, of course, Dustin Johnson, #1 ranked player in the world, going to be there as well. We'll see how his mood is coming off the Masters. Is this the year Dustin Johnson breaks through and wins the Masters?
We shall see. It all depends on, first of all, making the cut, and then how comfortable he feels after those first 2 rounds.
Yeah, we're talking about Tiger, and we'll hear from him coming up. And he said today, man, he feels great. But this will be I haven't tracked every event that he's been in his comeback. He hasn't been in very many. Of course, he played out on the West Coast a little bit, and he played several events in Florida. But walking Augusta National is a different animal because of the hills, and this could be the biggest test of his back in terms of the landscape and up the hills, down the hills at Augusta National, and how he holds up over 4 days, plus all the walking this week. I mean, he's playing practice rounds throughout the week, and you wonder about the wear and tear on his back in this sort of setting here over the next few days.
Well, the one thing that if you're Tiger that gives you hope is he's had some consecutive rounds where he's played tremendous golf, and that's something you couldn't count on when he was really undergoing all these, I guess, checking the lube, looking under the hood of that back and trying to get it straight. It has to be difficult. I would say, we always talk about a quarterback's arm. I got to say, for a golfer, the lower back region has to be the most important area of the body.
Well, I mean,
you're torque.
Absolutely. I mean, you're asking your back to do something that it's ordinarily not going to do on a regular basis. That is almost, turn. And then, like you said, all that torque going back forward and doing it over and over again. Our poll question on our website, SportsTalkSC, to win the Masters. Not who do you think, up a little bit. 24% want, 16% want DJ. Those are the ones in double figures. About 9% vote for Jordan Spieth. I think that would be popular. Doc Redman, the Clemson amateur, he's gotten about 6% of the votes. Nobody has voted. Nobody wants to see Sergio repeat. He had his day in the sun last April. Nobody in this poll wants to see him repeat. Wesley Bryan's got about 7.5% of the votes, and I hazard to do this, but we have a link where you can write in your own vote. So let's see who people have written in. One person wrote in Trump. He doesn't have to win the tournament. He can just buy the golf course. Now, somebody wrote in Bryson DeChambeau. That's legitimate. Somebody wrote in Arnold Palmer. See, now why you got to go there?
Now, I'd like to see Trump drive his golf cart up on one of the greens. What happens to him if he does that at Augusta National?
I think that would attract a missile strike. Not from North Korea, but from right there in the clubhouse from the president of the new guy in charge at Augusta National will fire off one of those shoulder missiles. Jason Day gets a vote, and Bill Murray has 2 votes now to win the match. That would be nice.
Sergio needs to have a conversation with Will Muschamp about speeding up his offense.
You mean you think he's too deliberate? The way he kind of stands over,
he walks around looking at a shot like it's life and death.
Yeah. A couple of other things. They have come out with the odds to win the national championship in basketball next year. Duke is a 6-1 favorite. These odds are courtesy of Nevada. So Duke is 6-1. Kansas is 7-1. Kentucky and Villanova, they are 8-1. North Carolina is 12-1. Auburn is 18-1. That's the newbie of the day now. Oh, okay. Auburn. That's the choice of the month. Gonzaga, Michigan State, Virginia, all 20-1. Michigan's 25-1. You come on down the list, and Clemson is 60-1. And South Carolina does not factor into the odds makers. Loyola of Chicago, 200-1.
Wow.
To win the national. So who would you put $100 on? And, of course, there's a lot of names on this list at various odds. Florida, 40-1. UCLA, 40-1. Miami, 60-1. So who would you put money? Who would you put $100 on to take a flyer on to win the national championship?
You say Florida's what?
40 to 1.
I'll put 100 on there.
$100 on Florida.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You know what? Louisville, with Chris Mack as their new coach, with their talent and everything else, they're 80 to 1. I would put $100 on that just to see if I could cash in a big check there. Come next. Back in a moment.
Where you gonna bring us back out of the break?
Yes, sir.
Aight.
One nothing North Carolina.
Go down to, hey, yeah. Go down behind that guy in the white sweatshirt. Go down behind that guy in the hoodie.
Jeff is not a happy camper right now. There went my view. There went my perfect view.
All right, 30 seconds, bro.
Go ahead.
Sports Talk is the sports talk show of Main Street, South Carolina. From the coast to the mountains, we cover it all.
Welcome back to BB&T Ballpark in Charlotte. Will Polancic here with you for Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network. And It's a 1-0 lead for North Carolina here as we play in the bottom of the first inning between the Tar Heels and UNC. Trying to break a 2-game losing streak inside this ballpark are the Gamecocks. It was Cody Roberts who singled up the middle to start things for the Tar. Big weekend, including the game-winning hit in South Carolina, leadoff double, giving way to L.T. Tolbert, who currently has a 1-0 count on him right now. Nobody out, bottom first, 1-0 North Carolina, but the Gamecocks threatening, Corn.
All right, Will, thank you very much. Over at Doug Kingsmore Stadium at Clemson, it's still 1-0. Tigers, top of the fourth. Coastal has a runner on first, and that was via a walk. They still don't have a hit, so a good start in this one for Strider for Clemson, 3 1/3, no hits allowed. He has struck out 5. He has walked 1, 52 pitches, 30 for strikes, so he's been right there around the plate this point in time. Pitching for Coastal hasn't been all that bad. The home run for Williams for Clemson, but Peavy House has gone 3 innings, the 1 hit, a homer. He has walked 4. He has struck out 2. Updating some other scores around the SEC, ACC. Games in action now. Belmont leading Tennessee 1-0. And Auburn 3-0 over Alabama A&M. It's Asheville over Upstate 2-0. That's in the 4th. North Carolina Central now 5-0 on PC in the 5th. Citadel 4-1 on Georgia Southern in the 3rd. Wake and Davidson tied at 5. Charleston leading Charleston Southern 2-1 in the 5th. Pittsburgh and Youngstown State 5-0 in the 7th. And Louisville, Kentucky. This is, of course, a big matchup. Kentucky leading 8-5 in the 7th. USC plays at Kentucky, of course, this weekend. Ole Miss and Memphis postponed. And Missouri State also postponed tonight. Now, USC football wrapped up spring practice today. They went out yesterday and they went out today and they wrapped things up. No media access for either of these last 2 practices. The last media access was following the spring game. So Will Muschamp has put his team to bed, so to speak, as far as the workouts. Now the hard work of the offseason begins for the players once they wrap up their schoolwork and wrap up exams and all that, maybe get a little bit of vacation time in there. But the work you do here in spring after spring practice and the work you do in the summer, both individually and in groups, will go a long way towards determining how successful you are as an individual and as a team when the season gets here in about 121 days or so before the Gamecocks kick it off against Coastal Carolina. One of the leaders, no doubt, whether it's offense or defense, it doesn't matter. One of the leaders will be T.J. Brunson, the linebacker, going to his junior year. Of course, the Gamecocks have to replace Sky Moore, both in terms of his tackles and his leadership, both on the field and in the locker room. I think T.J. Brunson's going to be that guy. I think he leads by example. He's not a big talker or anything like that. He just makes plays. He's a guy who puts himself in the right position to make plays. He makes plays. He's a very good tackler. He's good in pass coverage as well. And so the defense will rally around him, and he'll be the leader of that defense. And after the spring game on Saturday, he talked about just that, about becoming that leader and how far the defense made progress in the spring.
One for Brad, the emphasis this spring has kind of been on the tempo of the offense. How difficult is it to catch up as a defensive guy?
Definitely the tempo. It makes a big difference on the defense. I ain't even gonna lie, but it's good like when we practice and stuff, because like going against teams that just run huddle, it'll be a lot simpler. Like
same thing to you guys.
Well, T-Rob definitely did. Just guys, having better time lining up, getting to the ball, getting the ball out. He talked about that. We focused on that spring, and we ain't really come through with it. It's something we focus on every day. T-Rob talks about every day when we meet every morning. So getting the ball off is definitely like our top priority on defense. And it's how we win games. So we ain't do that in spring, so we definitely have to focus on it now.
Brad, how does the tempo make it harder for the offense, or to get the ball away from the offense?
Just fatigue, I guess, for guys. Just like I said, guys having energy, just running to the ball, being explosive. You're not gonna have that same explosive on plays, but you got to find it. And it makes it tougher on everybody from the cornerbacks to the D line. Just trying to get that ball off people. So
TJ, what do you feel like you personally have to work on after today, and what's the defense as a whole do you guys have to do to clean up?
I think the biggest thing for me was just being, consistent mentally, staying in on everything, every play, on as a whole for the defense is, consistency. We can't come out one day and have a lights out day and then the next, just throw it away. So.
Now, TJ, kind of just going off from that, I mean, what do you guys notice this year defensively that's a little bit different? I know it's tough because some of them spring once you get to the fall, things can change a little bit with new guys coming in with the freshmen. But what have you noticed is just going to be different about this unit this year?
We have a lot of different guys, newer guys coming in and everything, but really the biggest thing was just, understanding the concepts of everything, picking up how we play and getting the ball out and all of those things. I mean, all of that ties in together, but it's definitely different from last year.
TJ is one of the guys in the middle calling the plays and defensive alignments. How difficult is it to try to keep up with that tempo?
Fast, but, I guess the biggest thing is just, once the big guys come in and then getting everybody on the same page. That's the most difficult part, just having, making sure everybody has the call.
All right, USC defensive players TJ Brunson and Brad Johnson. Sorry, I missed it. Brad Johnson was part of that interview piece, but you heard TJ Brunson and Brad Johnson. They think Brad Johnson is going to emerge this year and have a very big year at defensive end pro. I really like the Gamecocks defensive ends. I think that their defensive ends are guys that can rush the quarterback now. You've seen the development of DJ Wanham over the years. I tell you, Mike Peterson does an excellent job with those defensive ends, and he should. I mean, he's a guy that was a great player in college at Florida, had a very good, long NFL career. You should learn from him. But you got DJ Wanham, you've got Aaron Sterling on one side, you've got Brad Johnson in the mix, you've got Shamik Blackshear apparently coming on. Those four look pretty good at the defensive end spot, and of course, at times you'll see maybe a Bryson Allen Williams move in and play what appears to be sort of a defensive end look, though he's really a linebacker by trade. They bring him in off the edge to put extra pressure on the quarterback. Big question is going to be inside. Lack of great size inside will reduce his amount of productivity. Then again, if you're a defensive lineman, you're drawing double teams, you have to hope that the guy next to you can take advantage of that and make those plays and kind of clean up in areas where you won't be able to.
Well, the whole both ends are going to have and even anybody blitzing. Javon is big as a building.
Yeah.
So he's not going to command double teams. He's going to draw double teams. So that's going to open it up for the ends. And he's quicker than most men his size, and sometimes he will be able to dominate a guard that's playing against him. So it'll be interesting how much not only do they rush the passer in a 4-man front or 3-man front, but how many stunts they run around him.
The other question on defense as they go into the fall is how much will Jamias Williams play safety? They moved him to safety in the latter part of spring because of their lack of depth back there. Are they committed to him staying back at safety, or will they move him back to the corner spot or nickel spot when some of those young safeties get in, including the transfer from Houston? Back in a moment.
For the Gamecocks. South Carolina.
All right, we'll come to you in a second.
Yep.
Friends with BBT's online and mobile banking platform, you have the ability to manage and control all your money in one place, like many advisors. Maximizing the way you want to use it. Explore the full list of operating features at bbt.com/u. BBT, member FDIC.
What? God, I want to be here. Dave. Just that feeling you get in the baseball game. Oh, you just want one.
My fans, let's sit here to actually for our contest right now.
The guys are always checking email. Send your comments or questions to talkback@sportstalksc.com. Now, more of Sports Talk.
Has filed in here with a late arriving crowd here in the Queen City, and they've arrived to see that South Carolina has equalized in the bottom half of the first inning. South Carolina got the first two on, courtesy of a Jacob Olsen double, and then a hit-by pitch to L.T. Tolbert. After that, they RBI single through the right side. Another one. We head to the second here, Corn.
All right, Will, thank you very much. And yeah, I can tell in the background, it sounds like the crowd's gotten much bigger. Of course, I know where you're sitting. You're right out there with the fans. You're sitting right below your feet. So
oh, yeah,
any kind of noise you're going to pick up.
Well, the question is it a late arriving crowd because they're late getting from work or because of the traffic?
Yeah, I'm sure the traffic in Charlotte had something. I tell you what, and I guess it's just me and my lack of sense of direction. Every time I go to something at the football stadium or at that ballpark, they have streets closed off, and the parking in particular for the football, like the South Carolina NC State game this past season, the parking that they had designated us to park, the lot we were to park in a garage, was one of those garages on a side street that's the sign was hidden away. You couldn't see it unless you were coming right at it. And I was coming the other direction. I must have driven past it 5 times and was caught in traffic. Had to circle around downtown Charlotte with the closed off streets and cops not letting you go a certain way. Could not find that parking garage for about a half hour to an hour. Missed kickoff. Missed Debo taking the opening kickoff back. I was pissed. No. I really was. By the time I got in the stadium, it was 14-0.
Well, for our listeners that's less than 30 years old, please excuse me, but I got spoiled by Tyvola Road because I understood years ago Then when they built that arena, that big arena that they blew up 20 years later on Tyvola Road,
right?
There was speculation that if they chose Charlotte for the NFL, one of the sites was they would build a stadium right next to that arena. Now, it was so easy to get in and out of that place, but no, every city now has to have everything downtown. And so they built the stadium downtown, built a new arena downtown, and it's not so easy getting in and out of there like it used to be.
Muschamp, by the way, did Will mention this? Will Muschamp threw out the first pitch for the Gamecocks tonight.
Yes, he did.
He was in Charlotte for that Gamecock Club meeting, and they got him over there to.
He's literally right next to me.
Okay, so Clemson and Coastal Carolina. It is still 1-0 Tigers. They go to the bottom of the fourth. Coastal still without a hit. Chanticleers have left 2. Tigers only have 1 hit. They've left 2. They've got the 1 run, a home run. And so that one is tight. South Carolina, North Carolina tied as well in Charlotte at 1 apiece. So we're just a couple of days away now from the start of the Masters. This could be one of the all-time greats because the return of Tiger Woods, other players playing at a very high level. But if Tiger gets it going and if he's in the hunt come the weekend, you're going to see television ratings maybe like you've never seen before for the Masters. And they're usually, pretty high. But Tiger's already had that impact on PGA television since his return. You can imagine what it will be like if he's in contention on Sunday. The gallery wants it. I think America wants it. They want to see Tiger Woods get back to winning majors. It's been a long, long time since he won a major. The thought of him overtaking Jack died off, of course, as he went through all his surgeries and his injuries. But if he could get one here in Augusta, it certainly would bring that back to life. Today, he was in front of the media at Augusta to talk about everything from his game to his back and the long road back, and when he started feeling physically like he might be able to return to Augusta.
That was probably not until after we played the Hero World Challenge in the Bahamas in December. But prior to that, no. I hadn't played a tournament yet. That was my first tournament back. I felt very comfortable, felt very good. The body was good, but just really stiff. But after a few tournaments in, I felt more comfortable. Started getting used to what I can do. And then I started putting it together. Started preparing to play events. Started competing and keeping score and posting numbers. And all of a sudden, I started getting my feels back. And here we are. The rest of my body's doing fantastic. I feel great. A lot of the pieces together. We've worked on parts to get stronger, parts to get more limber, and I feel fantastic. It's just a matter of now posting numbers.
Tiger, you've been able to prepare for this tournament, playing 5 events. Obviously, you came up here yesterday, today, whatever you were able to do at home last week. Can you put in perspective just how futile your attempts were the last 2 years trying to get ready for a tournament you obviously couldn't play?
Yeah, in hindsight, it was a big pipe dream. My back was fried, and to be able to, I was trying, whether it was cortisone shots, epidurals, anything to take away the pain, so maybe I might be able to withstand a week. Nothing worked. My disc was gone. So, giving how I feel now versus then, I mean, it's just night and day. I mean, I've got just how I felt coming here for the dinner and when I left, and now that I'm walking this golf course and playing and hitting shots and not really thinking about anything, it's hard to believe it's been less than a year since my back procedure.
Tiger, welcome back. Some people are saying that if you were to go and win here this week, it would rank as the greatest sporting comeback of all time. I wonder if you have a view on that, and in any case, what for you is the greatest?
I have 4 rounds to play, so let's just kind of slow down. I've had anticipation like this prior. I'm sure remember the build-up was from the PGA in 2000 to the Masters in 2001, 9 months of building up. What that tournament would mean, and it's the same thing. I got to go play, and then let the chips fall where they may, and hopefully I end up on top. But I got a lot of work to do between now and then. As far as my greatest comebacks, I think that one of the greatest comebacks in all of sport is the gentleman who won here, Mr. Hogan. I mean, he got hit by a bus and came back and won major championships. The pain he had to endure, the things he had to do just to play, the wrapping of the leg, all the hot tubs, and just how hard it was for him to walk, period. And he ended up walking 36 holes and winning the US Open. And that's one of the greatest comebacks for me.
All right, good stuff from Tiger Woods there, talking about his recovery, his condition now. Sounds like everything is in great shape, and he has the big test of walking the hills and valleys of Augusta National here in the days to come. But he's been playing in practice rounds, and apparently everything is good to go. So I would expect we're going to see him play some good golf over the next several days as we get to the par 3 tomorrow and then the main draw on Thursday. Recruiting note, now that South Carolina missed out on a quarterback who committed to Mississippi State, Garrett Schrader, tonight the Gamecocks have offered Jacob Zeno out of San Antonio, Texas, 6'2", 181, Arizona, Arkansas, Baylor, Boston College, Georgia. Give them another guy up on the board that they can try to recruit. When you're involved in these high level guys, and they take you to the wire, you don't get them. It leaves a big hole both in your stomach and in your board. And so they've jumped right back into the pool and offered another quarterback, and will continue to recruit the other quarterbacks that they've already offered. We'll be back in just a moment.
North Carolina just took the lead, boys. So if I try to say a nice picture you got.
All right, we'll come to you in a couple minutes.
Cool. Welcome back to BB&T Ballpark here in Charlotte. Will Pelagic here with you, Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network, where the South Carolina Gamecocks have taken a 2-1 lead heading into the third inning. Chris Cullen led off the bottom of the second with a home run, his third on the year, RBI number 14 for him. And South Carolina leads 2-1. Corn, you mentioned during our last segment about Will Muschamp. He did indeed throw out the first pitch, did so just short of the mound, and has done a little bit of glad handing here with some people in the premium seating sections. You mentioned this is a home game for South Carolina, and this is part of some very fertile turf that they want to try and put a foothold in. You think about, obviously, you mentioned the NC State game that they played last season to open up the football season. The Caravan that they had, the Caravan stop right down the street at the Panther Den in Charlotte. So this is something, obviously, South Carolina taking full advantage, putting on the full court press here in the Queen City, and they do so with a 2-1 lead here as we start the top of the third. Logan Chapman settled down after a rocky first, setting down the Tar Heels 1-2-3 in the second.
Yeah, did you have any trouble finding the parking? Well, I guess you could park in that lot right across the street.
Right across the street, actually, $5. It was not nearly as difficult as you made it out to be.
Yeah,
because your sense of direction is not as good as mine.
Probably not. Probably not. I mean, my history there is not good. It's not good. Okay.
Would you be happy to know, Corn, by the way, that there is a former Sports Talk member in the building today? And no, I'm not talking about Mike Morgan.
A former Sports Talk show host member type?
A former Sports Talk show host member type, yes.
Let me think. Mick Mixon?
Not Mick Mixon. No, not Mick Mixon. And no, not Mike Morgan. He had a propensity for liking the previous South Carolina baseball coach and his propensity for the bunt.
Oh, that would be the K-Macker.
Yes, sir.
Did you see?
We have plans to meet up following the broadcast.
Okay, well, be ready to pick up the check if you're going to go out and eat with him.
Understand.
All right. Have a good night. Enjoy the ball game. Folks can follow your tweets on our Twitter timeline at SportsTalkSC. And we haven't talked about this. We'll just do a little business over the air. You're going to post a little story on the website after the game?
There will be a story on the website after the game. And if South Carolina wins, maybe even a post-game Periscope.
Well, not close. So at least this one looks like at this point in time, it's going to be a ball game. South Carolina 2-3-0. They've left 2. North Carolina 1-2-0. They've left 1.
I'm surprised as we're looking at both teams here, as we're looking at this other matchup of Clemson and Coastal Carolina. I am shocked at the level of pitching for a midweek game. These guys are going out to win this game, and they are pitching well. Who would have thought Clemson with their offense and Coastal Carolina seems to put up a 4 spot in every first inning I've seen this year, that there'll be a 1-0 game here in the 5th.
Yeah. Well, Clemson was not happy with the way they lost that game at Conway last month, walk-off grand slam by Spoonseller. And they're looking to get their revenge. Is that Beer at the plate? He's got that shaggy beard going, it looks like. I think
like
that's
Grizzly Adams.
Is that him? I mean, check and see if I think that's him at the plate. We're watching it here on the feed.
He wouldn't be bunting, would he?
Runner on first? I wouldn't think so. Let's say somebody else with a shaggy beard. Anyway, Clemson up 1-0. They do have a runner on first, and Trevor Damron has come in. That's Grayson Bird batting for Clemson, so he's got a beard too. Trevor Damron has come on to pitch for Coastal Carolina now. Let's see. What did I want to mention? Oh, going back to South Carolina, I mean, you look at the Gamecocks lineup defensively because of injuries, and this is nowhere near the lineup you expected to see when the season started. You got Williams at first. All right, he didn't start the season as your first baseman. You got Bride playing second. He's your third baseman. Tolbert, who can play anywhere, is at short. You got Cullen playing his second game as a third baseman. Your corner outfielders are, as expected, Cortez and Olsen. Jacobson is playing center. And you got Taylor behind the plate. So, and that's where he started, because remember, they started the season with Cullen at first base and Taylor behind the plate. So they've had to do a lot of shaking up because of injuries. When they get these guys back and healthy, who knows? They can make themselves a little run in the SEC. They schedule-wise, they had to play Florida early, and Florida, obviously, the number one team in the country once again, and they're very, very good. And then they had to go play Georgia. So they had to open up in SEC play with two of the best teams in the league. Between them, Georgia and Florida, I think they've only lost like 3 SEC games or some small number like that. So it was top-heavy for the Gamecocks. Then you get Tennessee. All right, you take care of business. That's a sweep. Now you go to Kentucky. And, Kentucky, I don't think, based on their record, is as good as Kentucky has been in previous years.
Alabama ambushed them. I didn't think Kentucky thought they would be hit like Alabama got them.
Mm-hmm.
And so this team, Kentucky is at that point, Corn, where we talked about being the last year, nobody thought Kentucky was going to be good. They thought they'd be solid. But then they started to string some wins together, and now they're the hunted.
Mm-hmm.
And now they're having to adjust to that.
Well, Kentucky's last in the East, swapping places with South Carolina. Gamecocks have moved up with a record of 4-5. And so there's a chance to pick up some wins against a team below you. Then they got to go to Arkansas. And, South Carolina's never done well at Baum Stadium at Arkansas. That's always been a tough place for them. And Arkansas is not bad. They're 5-4 in the league, 14-2 at home, 19-9 overall. So that'll be tough. But you got to win these games against the teams that you are at least equal to, if not better than. And we'll see if they can take care of business tonight against North Carolina, then get some more wins on the road at Kentucky. Let's update some other baseball. As we look in at Clemson again, Tigers have a runner on second with 1 out, and they lead 1-0, updating the other games that we have been checking on. And as soon as my scoreboard pops up here, this is the one thing I hate about technology, is that sometimes technology doesn't work. And so my scoreboard has gone bonkers. Great. I've lost all my scores. Let's see.
Oops.
See if I can figure this out. Will you talk for a moment while I get my scoreboard put back together real quick?
As I was saying before, it is fascinating for me to see a game like this. I would have thought we were going to see a 10-8 game up at Doug Kingsmore Stadium tonight.
Mm-hmm.
And Coastal and Clemson, their hurlers have been outstanding against these respective lineups here. And 1-0 for Clemson. Williams, the lone run with that homer. But they've got something brewing with a runner on second and 1 out, and they want to see if they can make some space here. The one thing I will comment on the fashion, Clemson, please get rid of the camouflage shirt and please the camouflage cap.
Yeah.
I know people, the deal is now you sell merchandise and people like to see certain things that their team have that they don't have. Well, we won't do any play-by-play, but just let's say that Clemson is padded their lead.
Well, no, this is behind the action. So Jordan Green has just hit a homer.
Yeah, so a 2-run shot. So now it's 3-0.
Speaking
Clemson.
of offense, I need to mention the Yankees won, and D.D. Gregorius had a Yankee shortstop record 8 RBIs in an 11-run outburst for the Yankees tonight as they were winners in their home opener against Tampa. All right, real quick, see if I can update these scores now. Middle Tennessee leading Vanderbilt 1-0. Alabama, Jacksonville State scoreless. Kentucky 8-5 over Louisville in the 8th. Charleston Southern's come back, leading College of Charleston 3-2 in the 6th. Auburn 4-3 over Alabama A&M in the 3rd. Georgia Tech, Georgia scoreless. Tennessee 3-1 over Belmont. Citadel leading Georgia Southern 7-5 in the 5th. North Carolina Central 5-0 over PC. Wake Forest leading Davidson 6-5, and Virginia beats Old Dominion 4-0. Ha! That'll do it. Thank you, Brian. Have a great night, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow.